Every time you get behind the wheel, you're basically entering this complex dance with every other driver out there. And at every single intersection, on every narrow road, there's this one question that just keeps popping up. Well, today we are going to find the answer. It's the big one, right? Who goes first? And look, getting this right isn't just about being polite. It's about safety. It's about predictability. It's about making sure traffic actually flows. So today, let's break down the official rules of right-of-way. Everything from the absolute commands all the way down to those crucial tiebreakers. I mean, think about it. Every single intersection is a potential point of conflict. You know that moment when drivers get hesitant, or even worse, they make the wrong assumption? That's when accidents happen. But here's the thing. These situations really don't have to be so confusing. There's actually a super clear and logical system in place that tells everyone exactly what they need to do. Okay, so before we dive into all the different scenarios, we've got to get our heads around the single most important concept, the hierarchy of authority on the road. The best way to think about it is like a pyramid of power, where each level you go up completely overrules everything that's below it. And here's the crucial takeaway, right? If a police officer is waving you through a red light, you go. It's that simple. Their command is absolute. See a temporary barrier for construction? That thing overrides the painted lines on the road. You always start at the top of this list and work your way down. Seriously, this is the foundational rule for everything else we're about to talk about. All right, so what happens when you pull up to an intersection and there's nothing? No police, no lights, no signs. This is where most of the confusion really happens. But trust me, just a few simple rules can make these moments totally clear. Okay, the number one rule you need to remember is to yield to the vehicle on your right. Simple as that. Now, if you're on a dirt road trying to get onto a paved one, you're the one who waits. And here's one that makes perfect sense when you think about it. Cars already in a roundabout have priority. Why? Because it keeps the whole thing moving. And of course, it probably goes without saying, but if you see trams, trains, or emergency vehicles, yeah, they always go first. But of course, we're not just sharing the road with other cars, are we? We have to be extra careful around more vulnerable users. So let's take a look at the specific rules for them. And I want you to pay close attention because you're going to start to see a very important pattern emerge here. So first up, pedestrians. And in their designated areas like a crosswalk, they are absolute king. Their safety is the top priority, and the rules really reflect that. So yeah, you're going to yield in the obvious places, crosswalks, or when people are hopping on or off public transport. But check out that last point. This is the big one, the general rule. When you turn your car to enter another street, you have to yield to any pedestrian who is already crossing it. Burn that one into your brain because we're going to see it pop up again. Okay, now let's switch gears to cyclists, and you'll see the exact same logic applies here. They have their own specific zones where their safety is priority number one. So you'll yield at a dedicated bike crossing. That makes sense. And here's an important one for groups. If that first cyclist has already entered the intersection, the entire group gets the right of way. And look at that. There it is again. The general rule. When you turn, you have to yield to cyclists crossing the road you're about to enter. Are you starting to see that pattern I mentioned? And finally, let's talk about animals. Now, this might be less common if you're in the city, but these designated crossings, sometimes called cañadas, are actually legally protected rights of way for livestock. So yep, you'll yield at these marked crossings. And for the third time, here it is, the general rule. When you're turning your vehicle, you yield to any animals that are crossing. This rule is so important because turning is a tricky maneuver, right? Your attention is divided. The law just makes it simple. The vehicle that's turning is almost always the one responsible for yielding. Pedestrians, cyclists, animals, doesn't matter. Okay, let's shift to some high-stakes situations. We're talking about sirens, flashing lights, and emergencies. When this stuff happens, the normal rules can go right out the window, and knowing exactly what to do is absolutely critical. And this is a really vital distinction to make. Official, high-priority vehicles, police, fire, ambulance with those blue lights flashing, they're exempt from traffic laws. Your one and only job is to help them get through. Pull over, stop, get out of the way. But a private citizen in an emergency, maybe rushing someone to the hospital, that's a non-priority vehicle. They can use their horn, wave a handkerchief, whatever, but they must obey all traffic laws. The responsibility is completely different. Okay, in the absolutely terrifying event that your car breaks down on a railway crossing, there is a very clear protocol. Step 1, first and foremost, get everyone out of the car immediately. The safety of people is the absolute priority. Then you signal the danger to anyone and everyone you can. And only after all that, if it's safe, do you even think about trying to move the vehicle. Tunnels are another one of those special cases. What you do depends completely on what's happening. If it's a breakdown, you get out and find a safe spot. But if it's just a traffic jam, you stay in your car for safety. Now, for a fire, there's a very specific procedure. Park on the right, turn the engine off, but, and this is key, leave the keys in and the doors unlocked. That lets emergency services move your car if they have to. Then you get out and leave the tunnel in the direction opposite of the fire. All right, let's wrap this up with two final situations that can cause, a bit of a standoff. We're talking about narrow roads and steep hills, where there just isn't enough room for everyone. You know the scene, right? It's a classic. You're face to face with another car on a road that's only wide enough for one of you. There are no signs telling you what to do. So, who has to back up? Well, believe it or not, there's an official tiebreaker for exactly this situation. So here it is, the official tiebreaker ladder. And the logic behind it is actually pretty simple. The vehicle that has a harder time maneuvering gets the right of way. So whatever vehicle is lower on this list is the one that has to yield. A passenger car, you're yielding to a bus. A motorcycle, you're pretty much yielding to everyone else. It's a totally objective way to solve that awkward standoff. And what about those steep hills? Well, the rule here is just as logical. The vehicle going uphill has the right of way. And why is that? Well, because it's way harder and more dangerous to have to stop and then restart while you're climbing a steep hill, right? It's much easier to control a car going downhill. So this rule is all about helping out the driver who's doing the tougher maneuver. Okay, just one final tip for you. When you see those yellow lines painted on the road, that means you're in a construction zone. And this kind of brings us full circle, right back to that hierarchy of authority we started with. Any signals from a construction worker, they override everything else. The yellow lines, the permanent signs, all of it. They are in command there. So there you have it. We've gone through the official rules, but I want you to remember the law is really just the baseline. Having the right of way is not some magic shield that will protect you from another driver who makes a mistake. The ultimate rule of the road, it's to be defensive, to be aware, and to be patient. Knowing the rules is smart for sure, but being prepared to yield, even when it's technically your turn to go, that's what really keeps everyone safe out there.